Hey there, it's another beautiful day. Let's watch some stuff.
Stop drinking the Kool-Aid. Trump has you all brainwashed. You know how I know that's not the case? It takes an act of God to find an uncut, unedited version of Trump speaking. You have to go to right-wing news outlets to find it. While, on the other hand, leftist policy, Democratic policy is in everything, and I do mean everything. It's in our movies, our TV shows, our music. I tried to watch the reboot of Roswell. In the first 15 minutes of the show, they made a disparaging remark about Trump and his immigration policy. 10 minutes later, they called him that idiot president. Charmed did the same thing. So it's natural these would be your beliefs, because you're doing what you're told. That's how brainwashing works. It is so slight, so barely noticeable, that it just becomes what you think because you see it on TV. Republicans actually have to do research to get their talking points, to get facts. Because I promise you, we're not going to see it anywhere else.
Media manipulation is real, and it's not just in the news. It's little slight things that you see in TV programs or movies that make you feel a certain way and think a certain way. That's the whole plan, is to get in the brains of the consumer and control what they think.
Looks like it's official. Donald Trump sitting down with Joe Rogan this Friday. Now, I know it's not going to air till sometime next week, but I will be like a kid waiting on Christmas. Big fan of both of these guys. I mean, Joe Rogan is a master when it comes to this long-form conversation / interview. You know how Trump is. He's going to say whatever comes to his mind. I don't know if you share my enthusiasm, but I can't wait. Joe Rogan, Donald Trump, let's get it.
I know I'm pretty excited to hear this interview. Joe Rogan definitely does an amazing job in his interviews. To interview Trump, that's fantastic. The interview will take place tomorrow, and it'll probably come up next week sometime, and I can't wait. Let's get this out of the way early. I'm going to ask you to do some things, but first, to my new subscribers, welcome. To those of you that have been here for a while, welcome back. If you want to hit that like button for me, it'll really help out my channel. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. And I've got 265 other episodes, so why don't you poke around a little bit? You might find something you like.
I think I just found an example of governmental corruption so extreme that Nancy Pelosi, queen of insider trading herself, would blush. This is Mike Gallagher, a Republican representative from Wisconsin who, in addition to being a former United States Marine Corps veteran, sits on numerous committees. He recently announced that he plans to step down from his position early to join the publicly traded military analytics company Palantir. Not only has Palantir been the largest individual donor to his campaigns over the last few years, to the tune of 40 to 50 grand every year, but, and here's where it gets good, one of the committees that he is the chair of is the Cyber Information Technologies and Innovation Committee. The same committee that awarded Palantir a $180 million contract just 2 weeks before he planned to join the company. But wait, there's more. Do you know who the founder of Palantir is? That would be MAGA-supporting billionaire Peter Thiel, who also founded PayPal and was the first outside investor in Facebook. Now, why is that part relevant, you ask? Maybe because Mike Gallagher is also the chairperson for the House Committee on the Chinese Communist Party. That's the same committee that presented a bill last month to force the sale of a certain Chinese-owned social media company. And if that app was not available in America, who stands to gain the most from that? That would be anyone invested in Facebook. How much do you think Peter Thiel paid Mike Gallagher, officially and unofficially, to make them these extra billions of dollars? That's governmental corruption at its finest.
See, it doesn't matter what side of the fence you're on. There are crooked politicians on both sides, and that is shady as all get out. So I'm curious to see how many people are investing in Facebook right now, seeing this little pattern, because they know once TikTok goes away, Facebook is going to explode in popularity.
Hey y'all, Jennifer in Western North Carolina here. I have an update for everyone. I got a letter, me and my husband got a letter from our mortgage company, Flagstar, and they have sold our loan to a new servicer called Mr. Cooper. Guess who owns Mr. Cooper? Or at least a pretty big part of it. Vanguard. So yeah, all related to what's going on here in the area. Wish I could communicate more without having my post taken down. But this is pretty interesting, guys. Don't like it very much.
Now, it's not terribly uncommon to have a mortgage company sell your mortgage to another mortgage company for whatever reason. A lot of those people are in bed with BlackRock and Vanguard, and I know there's another one that I can't recall at the moment, but yeah, they own everything. They really do.
Whoa, guys. Hey, this is Fitz. I'm okay. I just want to let you guys know everything's fine. I'm not actually in a manhunt. So I noticed that other people were making little side stories and, a lot of people were reporting on it. So super sorry about that. You guys are awesome though. I never actually thought that people would be quite like this if I was in a situation. I think that's super cool that you guys are like this. So thank you. This is actually just a film project and it's like a little character that I've created around the Bayside thing. And I wanted it to be a mystery at first, but like a fun little thing. I didn't want it to become like panic situation. So my bad. And I never took any money. If you look at my bio, I always insisted and mentioned not to give me money. I never took a dime from anyone. I have no intention of stealing your money or anything like that. That's kind of whack. I was just trying to have like a fun time creating a cool story. My bad. And if anyone came because they thought that this was real, because they thought it was real on a crazy level, nah, this is a fictional account and was just having fun with it. Just to show the world what a solo indie filmmaker could potentially do with the technology. So I'm not part of any government conspiracy. This really just is like a random person. At times I thought it was obvious that, it's ridiculous. I figured I'd let it wind down a little bit because recently it's been kind of crazy. Yeah, my intention was to just kind of create cool stuff, a little side story to escape from the craziness of the real world into this little fantasy world that, I hope you guys have enjoyed or found entertaining. Anyone that actually has been impacted by UFO and alien phenomenons, going into this, I didn't actually know that there was such a community like that. And I now acknowledge your traumas. This stuff is very real. So my bad to those people. So to those who were like truly deeply engaged in it, thank you so much. My bad if it affected you that way. I owe you one. You might not like me, but I still like you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Fitz. I told you it was a hoax. It was all just fake. This guy made it all up. People have given me crap like crazy over the last few days ever since I said it was a hoax. I'm going to put the link to the entire TikTok post in the description. So if you ever see any of those Fitz things, just frickin' plug that in there and let them know. So now you know, straight from the horse's mouth. Fake.
Who's in charge of the dam in Asheville, North Carolina? Who's in charge of Google Earth? You all need to be charged with and have your head from your shoulders. Now, let's talk about it. How can a hurricane that makes it about 400 or 500 miles inland drop more water 400 or 400 miles inland than it did 2 miles inland from the coast? Does that make sense? The Lake Lure Dam is right here. All right. Let me show you what Google has done for us. They've been sure to come in here and Photoshop what's really going on up here. Okay. Look at this. This is where it started. All right. This is where all the water ran from. Watch this, you all. And you can see the color change. Look at the color change. Look right here. Look at what they did. They added this in here, you all, because they don't want us to see. Look at that. All right. All of that, you can see it, has been added in. All of this. All right. I'm not the smartest man in the world, but aren't you supposed to open the dam before the storm so that it could take on the new water?
I'm not very familiar with Google Earth. The color change definitely does look suspicious. I don't know if it does that normally. Last time I did use Google Earth, the images that I was able to see were like months old. I don't know how current Google Earth actually is. Somebody please let me know.
U.S. Army. Sergeant Clifford Stone talks UFO crash revival events of 12 different saucers with aliens.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Clifford Stone. I was a Sergeant First Class, United States Army. I had a secret clearance with nuclear surety. I could get the clearance that I needed to do whatever it was that was necessary for me to do at the time on special operations when I was called in on those. What I'm referring to here is that I was involved in situations where we actually did recoveries of crashed saucers, for lack of a better term, debris thereof. There were bodies that were involved with some of these crashes, also some were alive. While we were doing all this, we were telling the American public there was nothing to it. We were telling the world there was nothing to it. I'd like to go into detail on some of the cases about the nuts and bolts cases right here, but I will be available if you have any questions concerning my involvement in this. You can talk to Dr. Greer to arrange for me to get to talk to you. But the whole situation is, we've sat back, we've told the American people that there's no such thing as UFOs. I've been involved where we have recovered these objects we know them to be of extraterrestrials. In 1969, I had an event that happened to me. It was the station at Fort Lee, Virginia. We went to Indiantown Gap, Pennsylvania. That would be my first exposure to any time that we would be recovering an unidentified flying object. When we went there, we already had people that was already in the facility. We were a backup team, which was supposed to be NBC because there was supposed to be some nuclear materials that was on board this craft. Later on, most people involved were to be told that there was nothing on board it. It was nothing more than just a crash of one of our aircraft. I know better because I was one of the people that approached it with a Geiger counter to get surface readings. I was the first person to go ahead and see that there were bodies on it. That would be the first of approximately 12 events. UFO crashes are not events that take place every day. They're rare. I know we're not alone in the universe. I know that the absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. It's evidence that has been denied to the American people. I stand before you today in my almighty God, and I tell you this. If Congress calls me in and says, will you testify in detail what you know? I stand here today prepared and ready to do just that. Governments must never lie to the people for no reason.
You can bet your booty I'm going to have some alien stuff in every episode. Or I try to anyway. I love aliens. I love alien stuff, and I love when people come out and they're like, hey, your government's lying to you. This is what happened. We got aliens. It's exciting.
Doesn't matter who wins. This thing is going down. The elites of the world have their own plan. And, you know, the amount of capital that's been concentrated in the hands of a few, this is the greatest in history we've ever seen. Companies worth $3.3 trillion, individuals with hundreds of billions of dollars. What happens? What happens when everything goes this time? The wealthiest few buy up everything for nothing. Used to be 10 cents on the dollar, 5 cents. Everything's going to be 2 cents on the dollar.
If this coming no matter what, how would the average person best prepare?
Sell, go to cash, because cash is king. You don't want to go shopping now when an $800,000 home in Florida is selling for $2.1 million. Ridiculous. It's going to be trading at $500,000 soon.
You think?
I do.
You think real estate is going to drop that drastically?
I think real estate is going to fall off a cliff.
It's been coming for some time. With mortgage interest rates just freaking climbing, rent on properties is absolutely absurd right now. This bubble is bound to burst. At first, I thought he was going to talk about the New World Order and how the World Economic Forum is trying to make all these things happen, and they are a group of the super wealthy, the elites, right? And I was going to go into how the chickens are being culled and beef is slowly being, taken away from us, and all the listeria outbreaks, and then it shifted gears somewhere in there. So I still got my point out.
Based on all, you're learning throughout, your time here on Earth, do you believe in God, and are you religious at all?
Oh, yeah, I believe in God, and I believe in these other dimensions and an afterlife, because when I was 17, I died. I had an extraordinary near-death experience. But as far as organized religion, there's the good and the bad in all of them, and I tend to be aware that demagogues have ruined almost all spiritual traditions, and I can't think of one that hasn't been corrupted by men, okay? But yes, I do believe there is the word God is sort of misused. But I'm referring to sort of an unbounded, conscious, intelligent, supreme being, right? I'm not talking about somebody's statue or idolatry. So yes, I'm quite sure that exists. And in my own life, I've seen great evidence of it. And frankly, before I was a doctor, everybody laughs because I'm dating myself here. I was a meditation teacher, and I was with the Maharishi and went all over in the early 70s setting up meditation centers. And the reason I did was after my near-death experience, which I did have an experience of that sort of universal aspect of our own consciousness. I discovered that the nature of conscious awareness itself, at its deepest level, is that great being. It was an amazing experience.
That's an absolutely wonderful belief. It's not like organized religion as we know it, where there's a God or Jesus or whoever you may believe in or not believe in. It's consciousness. It's a heightened sense of being, and that's just wonderful. I love it. All right, this next clip is a little bit long, so hang with me. It is super interesting, and I couldn't cut it.
They know what's inside those bunkers. That's right. They're nuclear weapons. They're B-28s. They're 1.1 megaton nuclear weapons that are installed on the B-52s.
Yeah, the warheads, right?
They're the warheads. And he could see this bunker, and he could see the INSAT team on the outside. Now we switched to a staff sergeant, Air Force staff sergeant on the inside. He's now telling the story. He says they see this thing moving towards the bunker doors, which are metal doors that are sealed shut. And they actually are sealed shut with not just a padlock, but what they call an arc weld on the top and on the bottom. And those arc welds had to be broken by a special tool to get in there. And another thing, within a nuclear weapons storage area or around any nuclear weapons, there's a set procedure that they have to follow. And one of the set procedures is a two-man concept, meaning two people with equal knowledge has to first approach a nuclear weapon. Somebody with no knowledge can't approach the nuclear weapon because they could tamper with it. But two people with equal knowledge could do it. What just so happened, they had two explosive ordnance disposal personnel inside the area, inside the maintenance shop. Now, these are EOD. They're like fire team people that knows all about nuclear weapons. Well, they summoned them to the scene by somebody running back to the maintenance shop and then coming back because the radios were useless. So as this humanoid approached this bunker, the doors immediately opened. And now the bunker's open, and this extraterrestrial has access to the interior of this nuclear weapons bunker.
What happens next?
The humanoid goes inside the bunker. Now there's a dilemma. There's a real dilemma because what are these? At this point, there were 3 INSAT security policemen, a supervisor, and these 2 explosive ordnance disposal people, a master sergeant and a technical sergeant. And the master sergeant and a technical sergeant, they're armed with sidearms, a 38 caliber Model 19 6-shot revolver. And so the master sergeant, who was the highest ranking person among all of the people that were there, went inside. The tech sergeant, EOD man, followed him. And as they went inside, the humanoid was standing over the weapon, the nuclear weapon, the warhead, and had taken off the outer shell.
Oh my!
Now, let's go back a little bit. How do you take off an outer shell casing? There's 32 screws, and there's special keys. They're not something a screwdriver or any other type of screwdriver can open. You have to have a special tool to take those off. Well, in a matter of probably 20 seconds, this humanoid had taken off that casing, and the casing was on the ground, and the humanoid was doing something at the weapon. Well, the master sergeant then realized that this thing could be detonating it or whatever, so he immediately fired on with his handgun.
38, yeah.
The security policemen were still outside, but he fired all 6 rounds of a 6-shot revolver into this humanoid. And other than it turning to look at the security policeman, it turned back towards the weapon, fixating directly on that warhead. After the master sergeant fired his weapon, the other security policeman came in. And at this time, the quick alert team, the QRT team, had arrived. And of course, they have heavy weapons.
Yes.
They have grenade launchers and M48, 40 millimeter grenade launchers. They have M60, which is a machine gun back in those days, a 7.62 machine gun. Now they're there. Now there's all this firepower there trying to stop this extraterrestrial, this humanoid, from damaging, detonating, or whatever it's doing to this nuclear weapon. And so now there's a major confrontation now because, number one, they don't want this thing to get out. And so at some point, after some of the other security policemen fired M16s at this humanoid, decided, let's shut the door, seal it, and only they didn't have the arc welding thing, but they were able to seal it and lock it from the outside. Now they have it trapped. Now, there's 2 problems with that. Number one, it's alone inside there's actually 4 nuclear weapons inside this bunker.
Right.
It's alone with these 4 nuclear weapons. Number 2, could it detonate it? What is it? So it's planned. So they started trying to formulate a plan on the outside. And at this time, a captain arrived, one of the supervisors. And he decided we have to do something to keep this thing, because he doesn't know anything other than they're saying that there's an intruder inside. We locked him inside. At some point later, a major came, and a higher ranking, captain's one rank, and major's higher than the captain. He arrived at scene. He said, "Open those doors
and get this guy out
get
of
this
here.
guy out of there, because we
Absolutely.
can't have him inside."
Mhm.
So when they opened the door, it was right as soon as they opened the door, the humanoid was just standing right there by the door.
Okay, I don't know about you, but I was sitting on the edge of my seat the entire time listening to that. That is absolutely fascinating, scary, and fascinating at the same time. Like, what was it doing in there? I am going to find the second half to that somehow, and I'm going to bring it to you. I want to talk to you real quick. I've decided that I'm going to change my uploading schedule. I've been doing this every single day. I've only missed 2 in the last 266 days. After tomorrow, I'm going to switch to a Monday, Wednesday, Friday upload. I have some other priorities in my life that I've been neglecting that I need to take care of. I hope you'll understand. Maybe one day I'll go back to more uploads per week. I'm not sure. We'll see how this goes. But for today, I'm going to call it. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me. I really appreciate you. Come on back tomorrow. We're going to watch some new stuff. I'll say different things, and it's going to be fantastic. Until then, have a wonderful day.